Okay. Notice is hereby given of the regular meeting of the Board of Education of the Town of Westfield in the County of Union, New Jersey at 7 p.m. on the evening of Tuesday, May 4th, 2021. The board meeting will be held via an online platform which can be accessed at the board tab on the district website. The meeting can also be accessed by phone at 1-415-655-0001, access code 120-585-3576. The purpose of the meeting is to transact the regular business of the board and any other business to come properly before the board. This is to advise the general public and to instruct that it be recorded in the minutes that in compliance with Chapter 231 of the Public Laws of 1975, entitled the Open Public Meetings Act, the Westfield School Board on Thursday, April 29th, 2021, caused to be posted at the office of the Board of Education located at 302 Elm Street, Westfield, New Jersey, and delivered to the Westfield Leader, the Star Ledger, the Westfield Library, Town Clerk of Westfield, Tap into Westfield, and Patch.com, a meeting notice setting forth the time, date, and location of this meeting. Members of the public will be allowed to make public comments twice during the virtual meeting. In the beginning of the meeting, the public may comment on agenda items only, and at the end of the meeting, the public can comment on any topic. At the appropriate time on the agenda, the Q&A window will be opened for public access. If you wish to address the board, please type in your name and address. Individuals who are calling into the meeting and wish to speak can touch *3 to access the raise your hand function, which will notify a staff member that you want to speak. When your name is called, a staff member will unmute your microphone. Each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. Please note that if any member of the public becomes disruptive during the remote meeting, the board president may mute the speaker's microphone. Continued disruptions may result in removal from the virtual meeting. Dana, could we have a roll call, please?
Sahar Aziz. Mike Beelan.
Here.
Brendan Galligan.
Here.
Rob Garrison.
Here.
Layla Morelli.
Here.
Gretchen Oleg.
Here.
Tara Porto. Sonal Patel.
Here.
Amy Root.
Here. All right. Rob, would you lead us in a flag salute, please?
Certainly. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. Last week at our last board meeting, we had many announcements. Tonight, we're only going to do one sort of businessy announcement, and then we're going to move on to the star of the show, which is our Philhauer Award winner. So the only announcement for tonight is that the next public meeting of the Board of Education will be held virtually on Tuesday, May 18th, and is expected to begin at 7 p.m. Instructions regarding remote access to the public meeting are on the district website at www.westfieldnjk12.org under the board tab. The complete agenda will be available on Friday, May 14th, also under the board tab on the district website. And now, Dr. Dolan, would you like to introduce the star of the show?
Absolutely. Thank you very much. So I hope everyone knows that this is Teacher Appreciation Week, and that's an important week every year because I think people in Westfield, parents in Westfield, do appreciate the work of their teachers each and every day. But this year, above all other years, I think we really have to take a pause and think of, while this year has been difficult for everyone I think can recognize all the different new things teachers have learned and all the ways the teachers have worked quite hard to reach through the screen when students could only be remote or when they were hybrid, to teach students in front of them and remote students. This has been a challenging year, and our teachers have stepped up to the challenge. So tonight, we actually recognize all of our teachers, but we are fortunate in Westfield that the Westfield Rotary has established the Westfield Rotary Philhauer Fellowship Award. And that award is for one elementary teacher out of all of our 6 elementary schools plus Lincoln School. So it is quite an honor when you are chosen out of over 125 teachers at the elementary level. So first, thank you to the Rotary for continuing to sponsor this. This is actually the 29th year that Rotary has sponsored this award. And tonight, I'm very pleased to announce the 29th annual Charles Philhauer Fellowship Award winner, and that is Nancy Rigel. A brief introduction: Nancy is an Achieve teacher in Franklin and McKinley schools, and in this role, she focuses on basic skills and works with small groups of students. Now, I could talk quite a bit about Nancy because I have observed her over the years and know a lot about her work. But instead, I think we have a video tonight where you will hear others who work closely with Nancy and hear about some of her work and some of the reasons why she is someone who should be acknowledged tonight.
Nancy is so deserving of this award. She has so much passion. She brings a love of math to what she does. Her kids know that she believes in them, and she's a constant advocate for them.
I've been so lucky to work with Nancy for many years at Franklin School, and she has taught me what it means to be an educator. She is so passionate about math, and she shares that passion with everyone here, and she will not give up on a student until they have mastered a skill. And when they've mastered that skill, she celebrates it with other teachers and other peers in the group, and she's just such a shining example of the difference you can make in the life of a child as a teacher.
And then beyond that, she is constantly doing similar things for teachers. She's our instructional technology support teacher. She's constantly solving technology problems or finding some new innovative way to teach something. It's been so helpful in helping our entire school be successful during a challenging year.
I've known Nancy for over 10 years as a friend and colleague, and she is an incredibly talented and creative teacher. She's extremely generous with sharing her time and talents with her students and with her colleagues.
What comes to the front of my mind when I think about Nancy as a teacher is really how she instills a love of learning in her students.
What makes her a great teacher?
She's funny and nice.
You could just see it in the smiles on their faces as they're singing their math fact songs, or the excitement that they have during school-wide events like Math Night and Pi Day.
And on top of that, she does amazingly fun things like Math Night and, secret prizes and these little fun things that make everyone just sort of have a smile on their face. And again, in a year like this, it's made such a difference. So she's really a game changer for us on a daily basis.
She's patient, her willingness to help all the children, even if they're not her students. She's a great sounding board, and she'll never say no to you. She will always make time for you if it's an academic question or even a tech question. She's always there for everyone.
I've known Nancy for at least 10 years, if not more. We first started working together at Franklin School, and actually our rooms were right next door to each other.
Does she make learning fun?
A lot, because she always gives us stickers at the end of math club.
I loved being in her room. I never wanted to interrupt her teaching, but just being in there and seeing the way she interacted with her students and how she made her teaching and her learning of math so much fun made me want to, be a student in her class all the time.
Nancy is passionate about reaching all of her students in a fun way and in a way that excites them about her subject area. And she works tirelessly to connect with parents and students. And she also supports teachers through her role as a technology expert.
I was the instructional technology support person at Franklin before Nancy became the instructional technology support person, and when she did, it was seamless because Nancy was always helping me. When there were issues in the building or we were trying to figure out new ways to use technology, Nancy was always there to help. So now that I get to work with her in that position, I've just seen how much she's grown in that position. She takes initiative, she wants to help her staff, she's always looking to, advance what they're doing at Franklin School. And she's really, a great confidant and someone that the teachers feel comfortable working with.
What's great about Mrs. Rigel is that she's such a hard worker. No matter what the problem is that she may be dealing with, she always has a growth mindset about how to solve it. And most importantly, she has an awesome sense of humor. Mrs. Rigel and I are always laughing about something, and when she comes to McKinley, she brings us a smile. We love you, Mrs. Rigel. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mrs. Rigel.
There is no one more deserving than you, Mrs. Rigel, for this award. I can't say enough wonderful things about your dedication to not only Franklin students, but your students at McKinley and all the Westfield teachers. You're absolutely an inspiration to all of us, and I love that you bring energy and fun to our school every day.
Congratulations, Mrs. Rigel.
Congratulations, Nancy.
Nancy, I think this award is so well deserved. I couldn't think of a more deserving person. Teachers have gone above and beyond this year, especially to really make their students feel welcome, feel a part of the group. But man, Nancy, you have taken it to a whole new level. You have created slideshows for every different group that you have done. You have created activities for teachers to feel welcome. You have given me so much hope in times when I'm not really sure how much there was. You are always looking for the positive. You are an exceptional leader. You express your opinion. You really listen to others. You not only listen with your ears, but Nancy, you listen with your entire heart, and you make everybody feel really welcome and really good about themselves no matter what is going on. So thank you for all that you do and for always seeing the good and the best in all of us.
So certainly, thank you, Miriam, again for making that video. Thank you for everyone who participated in it. And I'd now like to ask the principal of Franklin School, Dr. Duncan, to say a few words about Nancy Rigel.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Dolan, and thank you to the board members. It is a true privilege to introduce Nancy Rigel, this year's winner of the Philhauer Fellowship Award from the Rotary Club of Westfield. In a year like this, it feels like every teacher deserves a medal, but someone who went above and beyond is Mrs. Rigel. She does so much for so many people. She's a tireless advocate for children in the Westfield Public Schools community. If you are lucky enough to have Mrs. Rigel as your teacher, you know that learning is important, hard work is important, having fun is important. You also know that no matter how hard the learning gets, Mrs. Rigel is always going to be there to help you. In her classroom, anything is possible. Her talent and her dedication to her students make her worthy of this award. She is that good at teaching. However, she goes so much further. Mrs. Rigel is always available to support her colleagues. She's Franklin's instructional technology specialist. She helps us innovate. She's our go-to person for technology issues. And this year she was busier than ever. But that is not all. In a year where teachers had limited social interaction, she helped the Franklin faculty stay connected and in good spirits. She has helped plan numerous events like painting parties, a limerick contest, and a secret friend gift exchange. Mrs. Rigel will be the first to say that she doesn't do all of this herself and that it's a team effort, which is true. But everyone else knows that all of these events probably would not have happened this year without her. There's more. Every year, Franklin School has Math Night, which Mrs. Rigel started 12 years ago. Normally, Franklin is completely packed with families on Math Night for an evening of fun math games. Since a packed Franklin was not exactly going to comply with COVID-19 distancing practices, it seemed like it just wasn't going to happen this year. Well, Mrs. Rigel doesn't let little things like pandemics get in her way. She rallied a team of teachers to make it happen. They created a virtual math night filled with math games that all had a Jersey Shore theme. 172 families attended this exciting event. And it was a lot of work, and there was a lot of learning, and there was a lot of fun. And it would not have happened without Mrs. Rigel. And these are just some of the examples of what she does at Franklin. She is the epitome of what teaching our next generation of people is all about. I want to thank the Rotary Club of Westfield for supporting our schools with this award. Your support means so much to us. Thank you, Mrs. Rigel, for your commitment to our children and to our schools, and congratulations on this wonderful honor.
Thank you so much, Dr. Duncan.
Oh,
Go ahead.
Is it okay if I go ahead and read a very
Please,
official
Amy, sorry, I
resolution
jumped
for you,
ahead.
Nancy?
I'm so
No,
sorry.
that's okay. That's quite all right. This will give you another minute to collect your thoughts in case you need it.
Perfect, thank you.
Of course. So let me read this resolution by the Board of Education of Westfield, New Jersey to Nancy Rigel, Rotary Club of Westfield 2021 Philhauer Fellow. Whereas Charles Philhauer distinguished himself as an outstanding educator during 30 years of service as Westfield's Superintendent of Schools from 1917 to 1947, helping establish Westfield as a premier school district in the state of New Jersey. And whereas the Rotary Club of Westfield has established a fellowship in memory of Charles Philhauer, co-founder and past president of the Rotary Club. And whereas this memorial is a fitting tribute to the importance of teaching in the elementary grades and the nobility of the teaching profession. And whereas Nancy Rigel, an chief teacher for grades 1 through 5 at Franklin and McKinley Elementary Schools, who has been serving Westfield students for 20 years, has been awarded the 29th Philhauer Fellowship for outstanding teaching, interest in children, and continued pursuit of professional growth. And whereas Nancy Rigel is commended for her patience, her sense of humor, her ability to tailor her teaching style to the varying needs of individual students, and for her commitment and dedication to the students, staff, and families of the Westfield Public Schools, particularly through her creative and positive growth mindset, her support and celebration of her students, and her considerable expertise as an instructional technology support teacher. Now, therefore, be it resolved that this Board of Education publicly express appreciation to the Rotary Club for establishing this award, and that this Board of Education sincerely congratulates Nancy Rigel for being named the 2021 Charles Philhauer Fellow, a significant honor and a notable accomplishment, and that this resolution be presented to Nancy Rigel on May 4th, 2021, and that a copy of this formal resolution becomes a part of the permanent records of this Board of Education. So I have one that's this size, but don't worry, you're going to get a much nicer, bigger one as soon as we can get it to you. So thank you. I'm sorry to cut you off, but now the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Dr. Dolan, members of the Board of Education, members of the Rotary Club who are watching, Dr. Duncan and friends. To get a letter of nomination for the Philhauer Award in any year is to me quite an amazing accomplishment, but to receive this award this year has truly shocked me. When Dr. Dolan walked into my classroom to share that I received the award, I will admit at first, I thought for sure she was in the wrong classroom. She apparently wasn't, and I think the shock is finally worn off. But as I told her that day, this year, every single stakeholder in the Westfield community deserves the Philhauer Award. Being a basic skills teacher is a very unique role in our school district. I get to step into a student's life to provide extra practice, extra confidence boosts, extra instruction, just extra. It truly makes me appreciate my job an extra bit. I'm a pretty lucky teacher. Because I normally have students sprinkled in every classroom, I have worked closely with all of the teachers at Franklin School and McKinley School. I think this vantage point truly helps me appreciate how amazing the teachers with whom I work are. To say these teachers work tirelessly is an understatement, and this year they've given even more than any of us thought possible. When I became an instructional technology support person 8 years ago, I never would have imagined the role that technology would play in our profession during the past year. Technology was viewed as the icing on the cake, a way to make lessons better or tools to help to use to make instruction even better. This year, though, technology was the pan. You couldn't even think about the cake or the icing if you didn't get the right pan. It really changed what we were doing and how we did it. Being in ITS this past year has tested my perseverance, but each day I have been in awe of the technology advances my colleagues and our students have made, and I have been so thankful for the hard work of our technology department. You might think that the skills we gained in technology would be the top of my list of things I learned this year, and while they're certainly important, I think this year solidified a far greater lesson for me. I've always believed that collaboration is the key to success. This year, teachers, students, parents, and administrators collaborated more than ever before. We may not have been close to each other physically, as we normally would have been, but I think the collaboration that took place was enormous. I've watched my colleagues work together to overcome every obstacle they encountered. In closing, I am deeply humbled and extremely honored to receive this award. As I shared before, I feel strongly that teaching, especially this past year, is a team effort. So I share this award with members of our community, my teacher friends who amaze and inspire me every day with their efforts, our administrators, custodians, nurses, secretaries, and guidance counselors who help things run smoothly and keep us safe, the Westfield parents who partner with teachers to help us and support our best efforts, and most importantly, to our students who have demonstrated how amazingly adaptive and resilient they are and teach me so much every single day. I would be remiss if I didn't thank my husband, George, and my children, Andrew and Katie, for their help and support always. They have all had to help on many of my math night and Pi Day projects, especially my daughter, Katie, who is celebrating her 18th birthday today. Kate is a senior, and when I started at Franklin School, she was a first grader, the same age as my first class of first graders at Franklin School. Those students are now seniors, demonstrating so much perseverance and strength. I wish the class of 2021 all the best of luck as they continue to move forward. This past year, the students of the class of 2021 and every member of our community deserves awards for excellence in education, perseverance, and teamwork. Thank you so much for this great honor and for allowing me to teach in such an amazing community. Thank you.
Nancy, that was wonderful. Obviously, your talents don't just lie in math and instructional technology. I think we had a few tears here as you were speaking. Thank you so, so much for joining us tonight, and congratulations. We wish we could see you in person and give you hugs and pats on the back, but we're so thankful that you could join us and truly appreciate all the work that you do, and really appreciate you sort of reaching out to be inclusive to all of your teacher friends at this time and during this week in particular. It's been a heck of a year, and we really thank you for your dedication and your commitment. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. Well, normally if we were in person, we would take a little break, but since we're virtual, I'm going to just go ahead and move along. So those of us who joined for this portion of it, thank you for joining us, and we will move along. We do have another sort of a special event coming up soon in the meeting, but now is the time during the meeting when we recognize the public for comment on agenda items only. There'll be a second comment period later in the meeting when you can comment on anything you choose. And just as a point of clarification for anyone who may be tuning in for the first time, typically we open this comment period now in case anyone has thoughts about any of the agenda items that we will be voting on later in the meeting. So we'll just give the public a chance to, the Q&A window just opened on the side. It's unfortunately named. We are accepting comments now. So if anyone would like to comment now, if you could type your name and your address in the Q&A box, and then Brian Ocker will be able to unmute your microphone. Brian, are you seeing any commenters at this point? Oh.
Yes, we just had Rob Bonaccio. So Rob, hang on a second and I'll unmute you. Okay, Rob, you're unmuted. Please, again, for the record, please state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Sure. Rob Bonaccio, 528 Forest here in Westfield. First thing, I wish he was still on. I wanted to congratulate Mrs. Rigel as well. My daughter was one of many students who have benefited from her work, and she used the word extra a lot in her speech, and that's a perfect example for how she operated. She always went the extra mile to make sure that we had the help that we needed. Over the summer, prepared documentation for us, additional things for us to work with. If someone were to ask me, why should I move to Westfield for the Westfield School District? Look, we've been blessed to have plenty of great teachers at Franklin, but Nancy Rigel is a great reason to say to move here. So congratulations to her. I couldn't be happier to have her receive this award. I know on the agenda, in the personnel item, there's an agenda item for approval or anticipated approval of a superintendent's contract. I'd be interested. Obviously, I don't know where we're going with that necessarily, but I'd be interested to know, as we describe the superintendent, hopefully, or the potential candidate, what that individual's experience in their own school district or their current school district is with regard to returning to school full time, and what their perspective is on doing that here in Westfield. I'd be interested in hearing what they've done and what they plan to do here. And I'd also be very interested, and hopefully this is part of the discussion, in what their plans might be to improve communications with parents and transparency on multiple issues. These are very, very important things for us as we move to, to our next superintendent. I'm hoping that'll be part of the presentation. Typically, we also discuss in one of the committees adding the status of potentially returning to full time. I know a letter was sent out announcing that K through 5 will be returning to a more full-time schedule, which is fantastic. I'm very interested to know, hopefully as part of that discussion, will be what our plans for the middle and high school are. So those are my comments. I think they're agenda items. I was kind of hoping they might be broken out, but I think they fit within the parameters of this discussion. Thank you.
Amy, we have a call-in user that's raised their hand. Unfortunately for the call-in users, I do not have names. So for the call-in user that raised their name, I will unmute you. Would you please state your name and address for the official record, and then you have 3 minutes. You're unmuted.
Brian, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
The caller, good. This is thank you for that. Apologies for the call-in, except for the aside from the online WebEx system. We're just having a little problem with our Wi-Fi tonight here at 418 Alden Avenue, which is my address, and this is Gerald Gleason. Thanks again for a couple of minutes this evening. Really just again to, I think, to follow up a little bit first on the comments that the previous person just went. Again, I think there, from a parent perspective, I think there's a greater understanding. It's a strong positive sentiment that obviously the K through 5 are returning back to school full time on, I think it's the 19th, I believe, or the 17th. Still a little bit of a head scratcher on why we're waiting another 2 weeks to do that when we've had a lot of time to assess the situation. But then I think the broader question is what is the plan, and when will that be announced for the middle school overall, which is an area that I have specific interest in? Or is there going to be a decision just to ride the rest of this academic year out in the limited basis? So again, I've continued to ask that question over the last many board meetings. Unfortunately, I missed the last one. But again, I think it warrants, the parents getting some additional information. I think the other piece is just trying to get greater sense of understanding for the beginning of the 21 into 22 academic year. And when will parents in this town start to get notified of that? Not just, the ability of going back, but real specific details regarding reentry. Will it be full-time? Will there be a hybrid model? Will masks be required? Will there be lunch? Parents are in positions to have to start making decisions. And I obviously understand the school board continues to take guidance from certain areas and health authorities and other organizations, which other towns have made differential decisions already and started to communicate that to their communities. And I can name several. So I think, again, getting some greater understanding of when that information will be disclosed in full to the parents of the community, and not waiting until sometime in the summertime, which is when much of the back to school program was opened up to the parents. So those are my comments, and thank you again.
Amy, at this time, I don't see anyone else.
Okay, as we've said before, there will be a time later in the meeting for additional public comment. So if anyone didn't get a chance at this point, there will be another opportunity later in the meeting. Moving on, Dr. Dolan, was there anything you wanted to say at this point in the meeting? I know you don't have a full report, but any update you wanted to give, or?
Sure, I can, since we had a restart committee meeting last week, I can provide some information, some of which was mentioned just on the last few comments. So fortunately, when we had our Restart Committee meeting last week, it coincided with the time where the state released the COVID activity report. And fortunately, not only our region, but the entire state decreased to moderate, which made some other things possible. So although that just happened on last Thursday, on Friday, we were able to notify all the parents of students in Lincoln School that their programs, their classes, the times were being extended. That had been our priority all along. We were ready with a plan as soon as we knew that it went down to moderate. And so all the parents have received that information so that they know what the plan is for May 17th. Time was given for parents and teachers to make changes to their schedules because that is required. And we heard that from both parents and teachers that they needed time to adjust their schedules since we were extending the school day. Similarly, at the elementary schools, we made that announcement on Monday that the students would be able to stay for lunch and that the school day was extended to 2:30 and gave the extra time so that parents and teachers could prepare for that. At this point, the intermediate students continue on their schedule for 5 days a week. The high school were thrilled because we had gone down to the moderate level of COVID activity. The high school now has students attending 4 days a week, 1 day remote because there's a higher percentage of students who are staying remote at the high school. And we are thrilled that we have so many thousands of students back in our schools. At this point, with the guidance we have, we are not planning on extending any more time for intermediate or high school this year. Should guidance change, and I think everyone knows that guidance does change, maybe we'll look at that again. But at this point, that is not the plan because of the guidance for students at that age, in addition to the numbers of students in those schools and the fact that you cannot keep cohorts separately as you can in kindergarten, right? Because those students have different schedules. As to next year, the state attended a meeting the end of last week. The state is anticipating that they will start to have guidance for schools for September, perhaps by the end of May, the beginning of June. But I just want to make it clear how much work has gone into preparing for next year without having that guidance, which we know will change. What have we done? I mean, on today's agenda, you'll see that we are ready to be staffed for September. And also last week, we have a budget in place that will allow the district rather, to be able to open fully in September. The actual details of how that will look, that is going to depend on ongoing guidance. As I've said before, the governor has indicated he is talking about full in-person, full days for the students, but the details of what that will mean are yet to come. And the guidance does change regularly. And I hear not just educators talking about, but everyone, because the guidance does change. It's been changing for the better, and that allows more and more to happen. And we have stayed on top of the changes and moved ahead. And again, I am thrilled that we have thousands and thousands of students who are now in our schools, and we have fewer and fewer students who are remote. And when you compare that with how things were earlier with the previous requirements from the state, I think that's a wonderful thing.
Great. Thank you very much. There we go. Thank you for the update, Dr. Dolan. We really appreciate hearing from you. I hope that answers some of the questions on the part of members of the public who are watching. At this point, I would like the board to approve the minutes of our meeting from April 27th, 2021, and the private minutes of April 27th, 2021. Could I have a second, please? Thank you, Sonal. I saw your hand first. Voice vote, Dana, is that correct? Hands? All in favor of approving the minutes? Yep. Raise your hands, please. Look at everyone that we have here. Okay. Okay, good, great. All right, and all right, so moving on to personnel, which is a busy section, as Dr. Dolan alluded to. Tonight, it is even busier than normal because we're going to, normally I'd move everything all together in one package, but tonight I'm going to ask for approval of personnel item number 1. Could I have a second?
Second.
Brendan, great, thank you very much. It is with great pleasure that that we ask for approval of the appointment and the contract for Dr. Raymond Gonzalez as our new superintendent of schools. The first year. He'll be starting on August 1st this summer. And so personnel item number 1 addresses his contract for the first year. We are excited that he is able to join us remotely and to say a few words. Oh, I'm sorry. After we seconded, I was going to see if anybody wanted to say something. And I just did want to recap first. It's hard to believe that we only found out that Dr. Dolan was going to be retiring less than 4 months ago. So this process has only been underway for we, the board members, for a little less than 4 months. But we've actually gotten a lot done during that time. We selected our search consultant. Surveys were put out to the public. We received hundreds of responses from community members and administrators and from teachers about what they valued, what they wanted to see, and what was important to them to see as the characteristics of our next superintendent. We had dozens of people apply. We interviewed a number of them over many hours. At our meeting last week, we approved the minutes of all those special private meetings where we spoke to the candidates and deliberated among ourselves. And it was a good and thoughtful process. It feels like at the end, it's been a little bit rushed, but part of that is because once we came to an agreement among ourselves and an agreement with Dr. Gonzalez, we also needed approval from our executive county superintendent. And we just received that approval this morning. So that's why there was the announcement went out this morning that we were going to go ahead and approve the contract tonight, and why we revised the agenda this afternoon in order to reveal who our new superintendent is. Brendan, I think you were going to say a few words as introduction as well.
Absolutely. Dr. Gonzalez comes to us with over 20 years of experience in education in New Jersey. Starting out with his own education, he earned his bachelor's degree at Princeton University before earning master's degrees at New Jersey City University, Rutgers University, and then ultimately his doctorate at Rutgers University. He started his teaching career in the Patterson School District as a bilingual ESL teacher before moving on to the Director of Assessment, Planning, and Evaluation for the district, which I believe has almost 30,000 students. He then moved on to the Westwood School District as an elementary school principal. Was appointed the assistant superintendent of schools in Hackensack, then the interim superintendent in Hackensack. Spent 3 years in Wayne as their superintendent of schools, and the last 7 back in Westwood as the superintendent of schools in Westwood. We look forward to capitalizing on those experiences, and and welcome to the district, Dr. Gonzalez. If you'd like to say a few words, to introduce yourself as well.
Sure. I can't tell you how thrilled I am. I do want to just take a brief moment just to, tell everyone how humbled and honored I am to be joining the school district as the superintendent. During my research of the district and then confirmed during my interview experience, I've really come to appreciate that the Westfield community is truly a place that values and supports education. I'm looking forward to working with the Board of Education. Hi, Mrs. Oleg. Miss Oleg, I haven't gotten a chance to meet you yet, but it's a pleasure to meet you. And again, I'm looking forward to working with all the Board of Education, the administration, getting a chance to meet our students and really just reach out to the community to find out about everyone's dreams and aspirations for the school district and find out more about what makes Westfield special. In closing, I do want to take a moment to thank Dr. Dolan for her dedication and leadership of the school district, as well as the Board of Education for taking the time to consider my candidacy and certainly run me through the ringer during a interview process. It was arduous, it was professional, but it gave me a great and positive insight into a wonderful school district. So thank you again, and I just look forward to seeing everyone in August.
Thank you so much. And I realized I did sort of put the cart before the horse a little bit. Rob, You wanted to say something, and also we actually need to conduct the official vote, which I'm not worried about. But as part of our further discussion, Rob, go ahead. You have the floor.
I certainly wanted to welcome Dr. Gonzalez. It really was an incredible process, and I want to thank you, Brendan, and Gwen Thornton from NJSBA. It really, yeoman's work, as you said, in a matter of, I don't know, 9 or 10 days, we probably spent 30+ hours together, reviewing resumes, interviewing, second rounds of interview. And it really was quite an experience, because it truly is one of the most important things you can do as a school board member is to vote on the superintendent, because you hope that that superintendent is here long after you're done with your duties as a board member. So not to put any pressure on Dr. Gonzalez, just announcing him today, but certainly welcome him. And again, thank you, Brendan and Gwen, for such an incredible process. And I was glad to be part of it.
Thanks very much. Thank you, Rob. Anybody else want to say anything?
Amy?
Oh, yes, Mike, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to echo some of the thoughts. Just as far as the thorough process of someone's feel it may have been rushed, it was an extremely thorough process covering all different areas, from technology to curriculum to facilities to personnel to really the whole gamut of questions. And when we looked at Dr. Gonzalez, I want to welcome him as well to our district. He really stood out, and we had many wonderful candidates apply, but he really stood out as the best fit for our district. And I think both the board and I think all of the parents and the students will enjoy having him as our superintendent and building upon the foundation that Dr. Dolan has provided. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Mike. Sonal, you had your hand raised as well, yes?
Yes, I just wanted to say, Dr. Gonzalez, I want to say welcome and congratulations. As you prepare to take over the duties of our district, I would like you to know how excited we are to collaborate with you, and we are really looking forward to working with you come August. So thank you.
Thanks, Sonal. Layla?
I'm so excited to see you again. And I just wanted to say, I know that we put you through the ringer. And we like a superintendent with fight, and I think that you are a wonderful fit, and we are just thrilled that this worked out. And welcome.
Awesome. Okay. Anyone else?
Say something whenever.
Sure.
Unless someone else had their hand up.
Philhauer, please go.
Okay.
Go
Hi,
ahead.
Dr. Gonzalez. Welcome. We're very delighted that you'll be joining us as a superintendent. I'm looking forward to learning a lot from you and supporting you in any way we can. You know, as we mentioned during the interview process, I think Westfield has a lot of room for growth and improvement and meeting its goal of being excellent. And so I'm very excited to have you at the helm, especially with the level of experience that you have and expertise and energy that you bring. So looking forward to a fruitful relationship.
Okay. All right. Anyone else? We should probably go ahead and vote.
That's a good idea.
Let's make that official. Yeah.
Sahar Aziz.
Yes.
Mike Beelan.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Rob Garrison.
Very enthusiastic, yes.
Layla Morelli.
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg.
I abstain.
Sonal Patel.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes, a really big yes. Thank you for your patience. And we are very excited to have you join us. Yes, go ahead, Gretchen.
So now that it's official, I just also want to extend my welcome, Dr. Gonzalez, and I have full faith and confidence in my fellow board members, and I very much look forward to meeting you, whether it's by Zoom or in person, and working together with you. So welcome.
Great. All right. Well, it's official then. That's good. Thank you very much. Thank you for joining us. I don't know if you tuned in time to hear that members of the public have plans for you already, but we look forward to you know having you in, having you notes, and I'm sure we'll have lots to say at the appropriate time going forward. So thank you very much, Dr. Gonzalez. Thanks. All right, let's see if I can get this part right without messing this part up. Could I ask for, let's see, the board's approval on personnel items 2 through 24, please? Could I have a second?
Second.
Brendan, thanks very much. Dr. Dolan, I believe there's an item here for you to speak about.
I do have one retirement to speak of. So tonight I'm announcing with regret the retirement of a staff member who has given 19 years of service to Westfield students. Pam Buldo has been a hardworking paraprofessional at the high school, whether supporting a student, assisting in a classroom or academic lab, or being a staff member in a specialized program such as the high school's prep program. Pam has also worked as part of the extended school year staff for many summers, helping individual students in any way she can. She's a team player at the high school, working collaboratively with staff, and is an integral and valued member of the special education department. She will be missed, and we wish Pam a healthy and happy retirement.
Great, thank you very much. Dana, roll call?
Sahar Aziz.
Here.
Mike Beelan.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Rob Garrison.
Yes.
Layla Morelli.
Yes.
Gretchen Olig.
Yes, although I abstained from item 14.
Sonal Patel.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes. All right, thank you very much. Moving on to facilities. Mike?
We haven't had a meeting since our last meeting a week ago, but we have a meeting scheduled for Thursday, May 20th. Thank you. That's all. Thank you.
All right, great. Yes, these meetings 1 week apart do make it a little hard to get good committee reports, but I'll keep asking. Gretchen, anything on long-range planning?
No report tonight. Thank you.
No report, no problem. Thank you. Brendan, policies?
Yes, I asked the board to approve policy item number 1. This is to affirm the superintendent's decision in HIB incident 21E02 for the reasons set forth therein. Second, thank you, Mike. Dana?
Sahar Aziz.
Yes.
Mike Beelan.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Rob Garrison.
Yes.
Layla Morelli.
Yes.
Gretchen Olig.
Yes.
Sonal Patel.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
Thank you. And then I asked the board to approve policy items number 2 and 3. Can I have a second? Thank you, Sonal. This is to approve for second reading the policy 2415, Every Student Succeeds Act, 2415.02, Title I, Fiscal Responsibilities, 2415.05, Pupil Surveys, Analysis, and Evaluation, 2415.20, Every Student Succeeds Act Complaints, 4125, Employment of Support Staff Members, 7425, Lead Testing of Water in Schools, and to approve for second reading the abolishment of policy 2415.01, Academic Standards, Assessments, and Accountability. And as discussed, abolishing that policy is just as it relates to the No Child Left Behind Act. We're not getting rid of our academic standards policy. It's just a policy that was mandated by federal law that's no longer required. Any questions?
Thank you for clarifying.
Dana?
Sahar Aziz.
Yes.
Mike Beelan.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Rob Garrison.
Yes.
Layla Morelli.
Yes.
Gretchen Olig.
Yes.
Sonal Patel.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
And that is it for action items on policies. We are meeting next Tuesday night at 6 o'clock. The agenda for that will go out to board members on Friday.
Okay. Great, thank you very much. All right, moving on to curriculum, instruction, and program. Only one item tonight. I asked the board for approval of curriculum item number 1. Could I have a second? Thank you, Layla. We are approving for second reading the revised curricula that we addressed at our last meeting for vocal performing arts classes, chorale, choraleers, concert choir, mixed chorus, and treble chorus, and then 2 intermediate orchestra, curricula for 6th and 7th grade string orchestra and 8th grade string orchestra. Any questions or comments? Okay, a vote, roll call, please, Dana.
Zahar Aziz,
Yes.
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes. Thank you. And our next curriculum meeting is this Thursday morning at 9 a.m. The agenda looks like it might be on the shorter side. So I'll see my SIP committee members on Thursday morning. Thank you. Finance, Rob?
Yes, unfortunately, due to my aforementioned mentioned technological difficulties, I don't have everything from you, so correct me if I'm wrong. I believe we have item numbers 1 through 8. Can I have a second?
Second. Yeah, that is correct, Rob. It's 1 through 8.
Okay. And the only thing I'll point out, which Dana has talked about a few times in the past, is item, I think it was number 7, which was our bus contract for next year with Durham buses again. Dana, roll call, please.
Zahar Aziz,
Yes.
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes.
And Amy, I'll just add that we did have a finance committee meeting on Friday. I did circulate the notes to the members of the board. The 2 items that we talked about, that we talk about just about every board meeting, not just every finance committee meeting, are the healthcare costs for the district, as well as looking forward towards next year with some of our professionals and what we'll do with RFPs for a couple of those that we do on a pretty much every year. We try and do a rotational basis for at least 2 of them. So we will be doing that next year. Thank you.
Okay, great. And a little too soon for our next meeting, right? We'll know more.
Correct. But we will have one more for sure before the end of the academic school year.
Got it. Okay, great. Thank you. Technology, Gretchen?
Yeah, we will have one more meeting before the end of the year. Brian and Marianne both have some agenda items, and so I'll be reaching out later this week for us to get a date on the calendar.
Okay, all right, thank you. I would like the board to consider the notes for the record. And then moving on, do we have any unfinished business?
Amy, can I just, before we move on, it just occurs to me, so I just want to just publicly acknowledge all the hours that my fellow board members have put in over the past, because it's been, what'd you say, it's been 4 months since we found out, right? I guess that Dr. Dolan was leaving. So I'm very sad that I wasn't able to participate in the process with you guys, but I do want to acknowledge, I mean, I saw all the notices and all the times that you were meeting, and I know that it got, that there were a lot of late nights. And so you've probably done one of the most important things that you will ever do during your tenure as board members. And so I just, on my behalf, I just want to thank you for all that time, and I'm excited. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Yeah, I think I had tallied it up when I was doing all the minutes and realizing I think our special board meetings was like over 34 hours of deliberation time or something like that. And then, there was like a little extra reading that we all did on the side. So, but as you say, extremely important. It's one of those things. And it was the one thing that sort of struck me a little bit when Dr. Dolan told us her plans for the year, that I was like, oh my God, this is the most important thing board members do, though, is pick new superintendents. This is a big lift. So I'm very grateful to all of you who participated, and we got up to speed on knowing each other and trusting each other really quickly. And that was a lovely side effect of the process. And I'm sorry that you missed out on that part of it, Gretchen, but I think you would have been proud of us. So thanks for that acknowledgement. All right. Any new business we want to address at this point? Yes, Brendan?
I'd like to recognize Rob Garrison from our Union County board meeting last week. Rob satisfied the requirements as a certified board member with the New Jersey School Boards Association. to get that certification, it requires 20 extra credit hours of professional development, attending several extra meetings, county meetings, state meetings, and it's the second of 4 levels of recognition for board members to achieve. The next level, the first level being new board member certification, certified board member, master board member, and then a certified board leader, each requiring progressive amounts of professional development. But Rob is one of a handful of board members that got recognized this year for that achievement. So congratulations, Rob.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting you to say that, so thanks for springing that on me.
We are all lucky to have you. Thank you for taking the education of board membership so seriously. We all benefit from having you with us. So thank you, Rob. That's great. All right. If there's no other new business, liaison reports. Anyone have anything to share with us?
Brendan, you did sit in for me last night if you want to report on that.
You're right. I did sit in on the rec commission meeting last night. They were excited to hear that the elementary schools will be going back in a couple weeks to full days. They're working on their plans for hopefully next year's activities involving the schools, recognizing that they're limited with what they can do this year in the summer. Overall, just in a planning mode at this point.
Thanks for doing that for me, Brendan.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay. Anything else? I realize we just had our last board meeting last week, so it is a little hard to fit things in, but I didn't want to deprive anyone of the opportunity to speak if they'd like. So no other hands. Okay.
Brian, I see Tara Aporto is sitting in as an attendee. If you could bump her up to panelist.
There she is.
Hi, Tara, you're on. Rob, do you want to explain how this parliamentary procedure will work real quick?
Sure. So we go by Robert's rule in addition to policies that we put in place. So as such, we are allowed at a future point in the meeting to open up an item that was already previously voted on. And since Tara could not join us earlier for the vote on the superintendent, we do need to make a motion, have it seconded and approved by the full board for us to reopen that vote to allow Tara to vote. So I will move to open the vote up for a vote, including Tara.
I second that.
I will recognize Layla for that.
Okay. This does have to be a unanimous vote, so
it does.
All board members are going to have to approve.
Wait, let me just make sure I know what we're doing here. So you move to approve to
reopen policy item number 1.
Personnel item number 1.
Personnel.
Sorry, personnel. Sorry, not policy.
I can see why you would think it was policy, but
all right. And Rod moved, Layla seconded, correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay, ready for a vote?
And now we vote on reopening that item. Excellent.
Right.
And then we're going to vote on Dr. Gonzalez again.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay.
Okay. Sahara Aziz,
Yes.
Mike Beelan,
Yes.
Brendan Galligan,
Yes.
Rob Garrison,
Yes.
Layla Morelli,
Yes.
Gretchen Oleg,
Yes.
Tara Porto,
Yes.
Sonal Patel,
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes. All right.
All right, and then I guess we need a motion to vote on policy item number 1.
Personnel.
I don't know why I keep saying policy. I'm sorry.
You like policies, Brendan.
Yes, it's your go-to. We know. All right. So someone needs to make a motion that we vote again on personnel item number 1. Well, I introduced it the first time. I'm happy to introduce it again. Okay. And who would second that motion, please?
I'll second.
Okay. Thank you, Mike. Okay.
Ready
Oh,
for a
before we
vote?
vote, Tara, did you want to say anything? The rest of us all had a chance to speak. I don't want to put you on the spot, but and unfortunately, Dr. Gonzalez has already signed off. But if there was anything you wanted to say, this is your opportunity.
I believe he's still here.
Oh, good. Okay. I don't see his box.
I think he's
Participant?
Yeah.
All right, well,
attendee.
I'll make it short. I didn't have anything prepared. I didn't think I'd be able to make it on, but I have a brief window. So I am really excited to welcome Ray to Westfield. I think that he is an excellent addition to the town and to the district, and I'm very excited to vote for him. So I'm ready to go.
Excellent. Okay. In that case, Dana.
Sahar Aziz.
Yes.
Mike Beelan.
Yes.
Brendan Galligan.
Yes.
Rob Garrison.
Just as enthusiastically, yes.
Layla Morelli.
Yes.
Gretchen Olig.
I abstain.
Tara Porto.
Yes.
Sonal Patel.
Yes.
Amy Root.
Yes, I'm also still enthusiastically yes. All right. Well, and we learned more about parliamentary procedure tonight as well. So again, thank you, Rob. Tara, we're glad you're here.
Thank you. Thank you, Brendan and Rob, for opening that back up and allowing me to do that. I really appreciate it.
It's important that our new superintendent is a unanimous hire. So
yeah,
glad we were able to make that work procedurally.
Yes.
Yes. Great. All right. Okay. Well, we've sort of motored through the majority of the agenda. Now is the time when we recognize the public for comments on any item. Doesn't need to be an agenda item. Again, this is the time for public comment. So when everyone has had a chance to speak, if there's anything we can add to address one or more of the comments that we've heard tonight, we will try to take that opportunity to do so. But really, this is a chance for the public to speak. So although it looks like we're just sitting here and sort of suffering, we're not, we're listening, because this is what this portion of a public meeting is for. So although it seems like we're not responsive, really it's to allow you all a chance to say your piece. So again, as before, if you would like to speak and make a comment, please type your name and address into the Q&A box, or press the *3 function on your phone if you've called into the meeting. Okay. Are we seeing anyone, Brian?
I have a few individuals that have raised their hands. Would you please type your name and address into the Q&A box, and I'll be able to call on you and then unmute your microphone so you can speak for 3 minutes. Okay, Gerald, I'll unmute you now, and you have 3 minutes. Go right ahead. Again, please state your name and address for the record.
Thanks, Brian. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead.
Great. Twice in one night. I'm very excited about this. Gerald Gleason, 418 Alden Avenue in Westfield. Really two comments overall. Following up actually my earlier comment, of the ability for anything above kind of K-5 going back to school full time for the year. It's actually a little bit very disappointing to hear from Dr. Dolan that decision has been made, that there won't be any changes. Obviously, I heard that maybe guidance will change, and it changes all the time. But we have a very compressed time frame for the end of the year now, only a handful of weeks, and it obviously seems like the decision has been made. Again, that students in those upper areas will not be going back to school full time for the year. And again, it's very, very confusing for parents in this community to understand that you guys are getting guidance. And again, it's guidance and guidelines from the state, and we are making different decisions than other towns are towns that are border and adjacent us that have already put their kids back to school full time with lunch for a full day all the way to 3 o'clock, not just to 2:30. As you've mentioned for K-5, which is also a head scratcher of why the kids aren't going to a full day. That would be number one. I think the second thing is, first of all, welcome to Dr. Gonzalez. Obviously, we assume that the board has done a full vetting of the background. But I probably would think it would be important for this community to understand when this individual is stepping in, and also to start to take full ownership of the back to school and restart program. We've heard a lot from Dr. Dolan. I myself, along with many other parents, have been dissatisfied with the pace and the information that we've gotten related to not just where we are this year, but the plan for next year. And now that we're moving on, we would obviously, I myself would recommend that this board and the new individual take full accountability for that. And along those same lines, I think it's also owed to this community at some point, probably in the very near future, for us to get a public address from Dr. Gonzalez to understand from his position where he sits on critical issues like this in terms of return to school, but also some of the other types of things that are facing school districts, like diversity and inclusion, that type of training and curriculum that's being put into schools overall. So again, a couple of comments from a concerned community member. Dissatisfied again with where we are related to return to school for the remainder of this academic year, and we still don't understand the level of accountability for that, and would really stress to the board and to the new superintendent that a lot of energy needs to be put into and to pull forward what is the plan for the academic year in the fall of 21 with some specific level of detail. Thank you.
Next, we have Jill Vogel. Jill, let me get you here, and I'll unmute you, and you can ask, or I'm sorry, you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Okay, Jill, you're unmuted again. For the record, please state your name and address.
Jill Vogel, 429 Baker Avenue. I just wanted to, somebody had mentioned it at the beginning of the meeting regarding the masks on the students, and I just wanted to see if that was going to be addressed for the remainder of the year, especially with the younger kids going back full time. I currently have a kindergartner. I know that he has a lot of problems coming home with a mask, and there's rashes on his face, they're soaking wet, and I'm just wondering if that's going to be addressed, especially as we go into a full time for the rest of the year. I also understand that there's a 2-week delay because of everybody getting ready, and I think the teachers and the custodial staff have done a fantastic job and continue to do so. I just, wonder if that could be pushed up at all, at least, for the younger kids who haven't even really been meeting the state minimums prior to this year anyway. So those are my 2 questions.
Okay, next I have Emily Barker. Emily, hang on a second. Let me find you here. Okay, Emily, you're unmuted again. Please state your name and address, and then you have 3 minutes.
Emily Barker, 434 Longfellow Avenue. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Go right ahead.
Okay. Sorry. I basically just wanted to also welcome Mr. Gonzalez to the town, and also curious around his views of going back to school. I think it's very imperative that we have transparency before, frankly, before August. So that it's not a week before school and we know what the details are in terms of full day, mask wearing, all that stuff. I think it's really important that parents and I'm sure that teachers would love to know as well. I'm also curious as to why the kids are going back to school. The elementary school kids are going back until 2:30 and not 3. I just thought that was kind of odd. And would love to know what the reasons are behind the middle school and high school and why they're not going back. Thank you.
Amy, I don't see anyone else. Oh, I'm sorry. Here's Rob. Rob Bonaccio. Rob, hang on. I'll unmute you. Just give me a second. Okay, Rob, again, please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Rob Bonaccio, 528 Forest Avenue. I'm glad we're on a first name basis, Brian. I appreciate that. So sort of two things have come up here. One is we seem to have already condemned our middle and high school students to not going back based on guidance that hasn't been fully articulated. My first impression is if it's going to be easier to have any groups of students comply with social distancing and other guidelines that might be required, it would be the older ones. I happen to coach a baseball team full of 7-year-olds, and I understand it's not the easiest thing to just get them to all point in the same direction. But how we can just, I don't know what the guidance is. I mean, just saying generally, we're not going to send our middle school and high school kids back because of guidance. I'd certainly like further elucidation on that. And I don't quite understand why we haven't had a plan for all of them ready to go. As I've said multiple times, once the once the appropriate standards were met. I mean, this is something we should have been able to flip a switch on, not take weeks to plan on. So I don't find just stopping our middle and high school students from going back to school to be anywhere near acceptable, especially since we have 8th graders and high school students who are going to be moving up in one sense and graduating in the other, and they deserve at least, if anything else, a few weeks of normalcy in their last few years, in their last few months or weeks here. That's I don't know how we can't make that work for them. Second, well, I very much appreciate the introduction of the new superintendent here. I'd asked a question earlier about what that person's thoughts are on getting us reopened. I would have hoped that I don't know if he's still around, but I would have hoped that we could have had a real conversation about what his thoughts were. I'm glad he's happy to be here, but I'll tell you, I did a quick Google search, and I don't put a whole lot of stock in a Google search, but it wasn't exactly sunshine and roses either. So I'd certainly love a little bit more information about what his plans are. I mean, we're all concerned about getting back, and to vote him in and let him go doesn't quite seem like the best introduction. So thank you.
Brian, you're muted.
Thank you for that. Kyle George. Kyle, you're next. I'll unmute you. And Kyle, again, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Sure. Kyle George, 605 Short Hills Court. First off, just want to welcome Dr. Gonzalez to the district and also congratulate the teacher who won the Rotary Award earlier tonight. I'm thankful that we're finally opening K through 5 almost full time, minus that 30 minutes. For my kids, at least, they'll get a month of full time in-person school. But I can't help but feel sorry for all the kids who are getting left behind in middle and high school. And, there's still no clear plan for September. And it's unclear what criteria allows K through 5 to open, but not middle and high school. It seems very arbitrary, especially when you have kids in middle and high school or who are of the age to be responsible and socially distanced. It seems like we're really letting down the district's kids to not get K through 12 back 5 days a week full time. As we saw last time when Mr. Pinero presented the data that shows that students are far behind for the data that we have, the board celebrated these alternate assessments, essentially not giving students tests, which is going to do nothing but hamper our ability to measure how our students are doing now and in the future, and adapt our plans for assuming we have them, about how we are going to catch those students up. And there's still no concrete plan to catch students up for all K through 12. Last time when Mr. Pinero presented, reopening school wasn't even part of the possible steps to correct it. We talked about getting kids into summer school as the way to correct it, and hopefully reopening can be completely on the table for everyone. I think before September and before August, the district's parents deserve to hear how Dr. Gonzalez plans to reopen schools full time in the fall, no exceptions. I think the board and the superintendent's office owe that to the parents of the district. Thank you.
Next, we have Mary Wickens. Mary, let me unmute you. Okay, Mary, you're unmuted. Again, please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes.
Hi, Mary Wickens, 111 Tudor Oval. First, I just want to congratulate Nancy Rigel. We used to work together in Achieve for many years, and she is definitely worthy of this award. And I'm so happy to have seen that video and everybody speak up for her. She's a wonderful teacher. Also, I just want to agree to disagree with Rob Bonaccio, who I'm actually friends with, and we coach together. So this is our favorite thing to do. So,
I'm sorry, just to clarify, if you could please address your comments to the board and not to other members of the public. I understand, but let's just clarify. Thank you, Mary. Please continue.
Okay, no problem. I think, the middle school and high school actually is more susceptible to, not social distancing, as we've seen in the reports from the Westfield Board of the Health Department and Shelley Brindle's reports that the majority of the age groups contracting COVID right now are between 19 and under. So right now, the middle school, the middle school is packed. A lot of kids went back to school. The elementary school, I know mine in Jefferson is, at 90% that went back. And I am, obviously concerned that they're going to be having lunch, especially when it's not a good day. I mean, we haven't gotten all the details yet. I'm looking forward to see how they're going to do that. I heard there's going to be staggered lunch, which is great. They already have the plexiglass, which is great. But I still concerned about, inclement weather and how that's going to work out and keep kids safe, and also teachers safe. The other thing is I just wanted to reiterate that the change in plan for 26 days is very hard on teachers. So I was actually surprised that it was changed for 26 days left, and now teachers have to reassess their schedules, reassess their learning
30 seconds.
plans. So that's a lot for them to deal with. I just wish it could have stayed and hopefully have a plan in place for September where we are back full time. I am fully for going back full time. Don't get me wrong, in September. Thank you.
Okay, Amy, I don't see any other names.
Okay, I think we might have a comment or two from board members, but I just want to give Dr. Dolan the first opportunity. If there was anything you wanted to add, Dr. Dolan, or we're happy to.
Brian, you have Liz Mulholland just chimed in.
Oh.
She just typed in just as Amy was speaking. So.
Okay, last one. We hope. What do you think?
Hold on, Liz. Okay, Liz, you're unmuted. You go ahead. You have 3 minutes. Again, please state your name and address.
Hi, Liz Mulholland, 1029 Harding Street. Hope you're all well. Thank you so much for all of the work you do and for bringing us a new superintendent. Very excited, and I wanted to welcome him. I also wanted to thank Dr. Dolan for her 14 years of services in our district. I personally found her to be a dedicated public service servant who has always worked in the best interest of our students. I'd also like to say that Westfield, once again, is in the top 10% of districts in the state of New Jersey, and for SATs in the top 5% of schools in the state of New Jersey, and we do that at a price that is in the bottom 25% of the state of New Jersey. So I would like to thank you all for always remaining consistent, putting education first, and keeping an eye on our tax dollars to make sure that we get the value that we have and the excellent education that we have. So I want to thank you very much. And I'd also like to just ask, I know I go to the PTO meetings and the PTC meetings, so I hear the constant movement of what we're doing and why we're doing it and why we can do some things and why we can't do others. And I was hoping maybe somebody could just extrapolate on that, because I hear it constantly, but apparently others may not. So, you know, those who don't go to the meetings don't get to hear what we're hearing, possibly, you know, face to face. So anyway, that's all I had to say. So thank you again for your service. I really appreciate it, and have a wonderful night.
I don't see any more, Amy.
Okay, we'll officially close the public comment portion of the meeting at this point. And again, I'll just repeat, Dr. Dolan, I'll give you the courtesy of the first crack, if you would like, at commenting on any of the comments.
Sure, maybe I'll just try to address one part. So on our website, or on the New Jersey Department of Health website, or on the CDC website, there's a great deal of information about what the guidance is for schools. The guidance is different for younger students than for older students. My understanding, again, I'm not a health professional, but I do try to read everything, or read as much as possible, perhaps. The younger students, for one thing, don't transmit COVID as much as older students do. So the rules are different, right? So that's one of the differences. The other is students in younger grades are, not just in Westfield, but are generally in smaller schools. They also live in cohorts. Our younger students, if you have a first grader, your younger student basically stays with one teacher, right? There are special subject areas. We've been really careful with that this year because of the guidance. Because things have changed, we've been able to have special subject teachers go into classes now as opposed to doing it virtually. But that is a completely different world than middle school, completely different. Middle school, the students have their own schedules, right? And then middle school is different again from high school. In middle school, our middle schoolers are in teams. You know, so our sixth graders are divided into the A team and the B team. Now, within the A team, you do have some crossover. The kids aren't with the same students every period of the day, but they're with the A team or they're with the B team, right? So that is both because of the changing of classes and because you would need to have approximately 750 students sit 6 feet apart to have lunch. And I'm sure you can all do the math for that. It doesn't work to bring the students back at this point. Those are the rules. At the high school, we have close to 2,000 students. Each one of those students has a completely different schedule, right? The thought of all of those students being in all day long and having lunch, it doesn't work. It's not just in Westfield. It might happen in a small high school. I'm sorry, I take that back. It could happen in a small high school or a small middle school, or it could happen in those districts where 30 or 40% of students are attending, because then there is enough room. Then you have plenty of 6 feet. We don't have 6 feet. We have over it's actually 95% in our elementary schools now. It's approximately 85% in our middle schools, and it's over 60% in our high school. That changes everything. So the guidance really is there. If anybody wants to read it, they certainly are welcome to do it. But those are some of the examples of the many, many pages of guidance that we are following. So I hope that helps some people.
Thank you. I hope it helps as well. I've heard you say it before, but hopefully people are hearing you say it tonight if they didn't hear it before. I think, Layla, you had something that you wanted to comment on. Is that right? Or not? That's fine if you don't want to.
I'm gonna sit on it.
That's fine. That's fine. There was a comment about the curriculum presentation that Paul Pinero gave last week, talking about where our students are. That the assessment was done to provide data to the state so that we could show where our students are at this point in the year. What the state had asked for was, where are the students with regard to grade level? Those grade level benchmarks are for the end of the year in any particular grade that those students are in. So that's part of the reason why when Paul gave his presentation, he said, we expect that those numbers will improve and look better by June, because by the end of the year, more students will be expected to have mastered more of what we expected them to learn in any particular grade. I have seen the comment somewhere, I can't remember where, that our students are, maybe it was in a letter to the Board of Ed since our last meeting, that our students are falling farther behind every day. That is actually not what his data revealed last week, and that's not consistent with what we're hearing from our teachers and what they're seeing by way of their students. So I just wanted to go ahead and make that comment, because I think it's important to know that, and it's important to understand. Also, we are not doing away with all tests. The comment that was made at our meeting last week was about final examinations at the high school for those students who would typically take final examinations. That's not even 100% of high school students. Students who take AP classes typically take the AP examination and don't do a final examination. That will continue this year. Some students who are doing well enough in a class that they have an A average are also exempt from final examinations during normal years. So those students also would not typically be taking a final exam this year. The change that's being made is that assessments, different assessments are going to be used to come up with, to help factor into the grades in order to prove that a student in a high school course has demonstrated mastery of that course. It doesn't mean there won't be any tests. It doesn't mean there won't be any assessments. It just means it won't be a week of final examinations as we have had in pre-COVID times and as we expect to go back to in the future. So again, just from my perspective as curriculum chair, I just wanted to make those comments to clarify in response to the comments we heard tonight. Brendan?
Just very quick, and then I'll switch to Sahar. Just the grade level assessment, the benchmarks that Paul was referring to are end of year metrics, and they're not prorated. So if your fourth grader is on progress but not exceeding grade level yet, it's not going to reflect that in the number. It's for end of year progress.
Got it. Okay. And I missed it.
Just wanted to make a comment. So just echoing what you're saying is just emphasizing what we mentioned last week or the last meeting, was for parents, and this goes without saying, but I think it's really important if you're a parent who's very worried about your particular child falling behind, or you think that's the case. I just hope that parents take the initiative to talk to the teachers, because what we're doing and what Paul did was at a systemic level. And I agree. I mean, I emphasize what you stated, which is he was taking those numbers from a few months ago and had stated in his presentation that those numbers are going to change once we get closer. But just again, I hope the parents do talk with the teachers. We have some phenomenal teachers at Westfield, one of their strengths here. And then the other comment I just wanted to make, because when we were welcoming Dr. Gonzalez, I realized we were rushed, but I just wanted to say that, whenever we're welcoming a new superintendent, we have to acknowledge the work that the current, who will soon be the past superintendent, has done. And I know Dr. Dolan did not expect, I guess no superintendent expected to be dealing with a global pandemic. And every superintendent does a lot of work to get us better. And so I know Dr. Dolan has gotten us better than when she was superintendent, and of course Dr. Gonzalez now will take us. But it would just I would be remiss not to recognize that the new superintendent is fortunate to build on what you've created, Dr. Dolan. So thank you.
She's stuck with us a while longer, isn't she, Dr. Nolan? We have plenty of time to.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this
Right?
isn't.
Okay,
yeah,
just
this-
wanted to
so
make
this
sure.
isn't-
I was
yeah,
like, oh my God, we don't have to say goodbye
but
right
I
now.
just feel like if we're gonna, you gotta do it together because no one walks into a vacuum, right?
Yeah, don't worry, we have a lot of work to do before the end of June, no doubt. And everybody's working on it.
Absolutely. And it is something that's important to keep in mind. Dr. Gonzalez will be joining us officially on August 1st. He will be doing a lot of, to the extent that he can, he'll be meeting with administrators, getting to know the community. But his work with us begins August 1st. So although people may like to hear what he has to say, and I'm sure he will look forward to meeting people throughout the community, yeah, to expect him to give us a presentation of any kind at this point, I think is a little bit premature. So I think we need to acknowledge that there will be some getting to know you on his part. And also it's really important to emphasize that as much as our superintendent has done and will do, it's the work of the whole district staff and teachers that really goes into making any kind of schedule change possible. So although yes, we look to Dr. Dolan to tell us about how things are, how things might change, how things are changing. She works extensively with the principals and the administrators, and they work extensively with their staff at their schools. So it's not a switch flipping very quickly. And every time we make these changes, which seem incremental, they seem to some people to be taking a long period of time, there is an amazing amount of work behind the scenes. And if it doesn't show, then I guess it means people are doing a marvelous job without letting it show how hard they're working. But we can certainly see it. We acknowledge it. I mean, there is not a committee meeting that goes by where we don't talk about the effect of the pandemic and the effect of the remote schedule and the hybrid schedule. We talk about it every time we meet. And so please don't think that people are just sort of sitting around now that we've talked about how a schedule can change in the next 13 days or something like that in some of our schools. I just think it's really important to reiterate that. And I also think it's really important to acknowledge, particularly during Teacher Appreciation Week, that the teachers are working more than full-time. And so although your student may not be in a chair in a school for a regular length of a school day, it does not mean those teachers are not teaching. It does not mean that there is not a lot of work being done to educate your child. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. And I think people do understand, but also it's really important to for us to say how much we value all of that work. Not just the time in seats in school, but all of the work and all of the effort that our teachers and our administrators have put into making this school year as successful as it has been. All right. All right. If there's no other comments from board members at this point, without trying to read your faces. Okay. All right, then I would like the board to approve the following resolution for us to move into private session. Be it resolved that the Board of Education move into private session for the purpose of discussing matters rendered confidential by state and federal law and personnel matters, and be it further resolved that any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential and the results of the discussion will be made public as soon as practicable. Can I have a second, please? Layla, thanks. All right, all in favor of going to private session? Okay. All right. Thank you very much. I'll see board members on the other link. Thank you very much.